brilliant scientist, a dangerous conspiracy, a cutting-edge brain chip that could change everything. This is the story of Dr. Desmond Gray and his fight against Obsidian Kang. Hello, how's it going, everybody? Drew here with another video for you guys, and in today's video we're going to be diving into one of the main characters in my Cyberpunk series, Mindfall. And this character is Dr. Desmond Gray. And a quick way to think about this character, if you've ever played Cyberpunk 2077, he's like a Ripper Doc and a Netrunner all in one. But of course, Mindfall has nothing to do with Cyberpunk 2077. It's a completely separate Cyberpunk universe and all that jazz. But just to give you something to think about, right? But we're going to be diving into his background, his invention of this revolutionary brain chip. And then, of course, that brain chip made him the target of Kang, who is the primary antagonist and villain in Mindfall. And then, of course, Desmond eventually teaming up with Susanna to fight Kang using his newfound cybernetic and cyber telepathic skills and net running skills, you could say. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in right now. So Desmond Gray, he is inspired greatly by, if you've watched my previous video on Susanna, you know that one of my huge inspirations for this series was the series Dark Angel with Jessica Alba, Michael Weatherly. Fantastic. The season was just delicious. I love it. And of course, the other inspiration is Perfect Dark, but there isn't a character like Desmond in Perfect Dark. But I took inspiration from Logan from Dark Angel, and he is this like very brilliant, very smart guy. He is what they call in the show a cyber journalist, and he's a hacker, and he is essentially exposing all the corruption in the city using his hacking skills and his doing exposés on these corrupt individuals in the city. And then he uses the help or aid of Max, his partner played by Jessica Alba, to help him get intel and to get information and get dirt on these corrupt individuals who are ruining the city and all that jazz. And so they essentially fight crime together, and it's freaking cool. It's really, really cool. So that was my inspiration for Desmond. The other inspiration is Russell Crowe's character, Jeffrey Wigand, in The Insider, who's this brilliant scientist where he is essentially, a target by big tobacco. They defame him and do all this stuff to ruin his character because he's a whistleblower. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that quick rundown of the inspirations of the character. Of course, there's Charles Xavier from X-Men. He's another inspiration because he has the telepathic powers and all that jazz. And he's also in a wheelchair and disabled and all that stuff. So, and then of course, the other character who's kind of an inspiration in a way, it's more like the movie is the inspiration for the technology, is the movie Upgrade. I've mentioned that before. So getting into Desmond's backstory, he's this brilliant scientist, very smart, graduated top of his class, has studied bionics and of course nanotechnology and all that awesome stuff. And then he was hired by a subsidiary company of X-Ram Corporation, which is one of the mega corporations in the world of Mindfall. So you have two mega corporations. You have X-Ram and then you have Citron, and the rivals, right? And X-Ram is the oldest. They're the first corporation to introduce bionics in the consumer market. They're also a defense contractor. Anyway, so he's working for the subsidiary company making brain chips, right? Or designing them rather. And there are these unethical things going on in that company, right? There's these experiments, let's just say. And Desmond's outspoken. He's a very vocal, outspoken guy. He doesn't stand for injustice. He calls a spade, that sort of thing. So that gets him in hot water. He's fired from this company, right? And you'd think it ends there, but what happens is after being fired, he's contacted by the rival corporation Citron, and they're very interested in his work, and they would love to have him on their team. And so he considers it but doesn't accept. And then he's contacted by the subsidiary company again, and they call him in, and they essentially tell him that, hey, look, you're going to be signing this supplement to your confidentiality agreement, or we're going to sever a severance package, and we're going to terminate your medical benefits and all this stuff. And then Desmond's like, why? I haven't done anything wrong. I've always, played by the rules, I haven't violated any contracts with you guys. And nonetheless, they threaten him, and he basically says, F you. And then so he is with his girlfriend, and they're driving through the city, and there's this big protest going on, anti-cyborg protests going on. And so they're trying to go a different way home, but then their smart car is hacked, and then a thug disguised as a protester who's actually a contract killer, grabs them and drags them on the street. But then Desmond has a taser, and he tases the guy, and they manage to run away. And there's people looking by, and they're just watching, right? And they're calling out for help. Desmond and his girlfriend calling out for help, and they're just like, some people are like filming with their smartphones, like whatever. And then so the contract killer, chases after them, and then he ends up shooting, just basically spraying bullets, and he ends up hitting Desmond in the back and killing his girlfriend. And so Desmond becomes paraplegic, and then the police drone catches the contract killer and orders him to stop, and then so he flees. And so Desmond ends up surviving, and long story short, the subsidiary company tries to sue him, but they find no evidence of him, breaching any sort of confidential material or anything like that. Shortly after that, Desmond takes up the offer with Citron, and he works his way up and becomes the lead scientist. So that is essentially Desmond's background. Another thing that's going to be really cool about Desmond's character is it's going to show off this technology that's currently in development, and that technology is leg exoskeletons, right? These powered exoskeletons that people who are paraplegic, they can put them on their legs, and it will give them the ability to walk. And then so years later, he develops this Nx5 brain chip, and what it is it's like a universal remote, if you will. It uses machine learning, and it's very, very fast CPU, and it is able to enable the user to remotely control computers. Anything with a computer chip or brain chip, you can remotely control it. And so Desmond developed this technology because of his own ailment, because he's paraplegic. So he wanted to help paraplegic people out by coming up with this revolutionary brain chip that would help them restore mobility with their bionic arms, because bionic arms and parts have been around in this world for a while, but there's always that issue of the body rejecting it or it not functioning correctly. So he really wanted to make this brain chip that would bridge that gap. And not only that, was to develop this brain chip that would be powerful enough to be compatible with a spinal implant that they're developing. They're trying to develop a spinal implant that can fix people who are paraplegic, but the problem is you need a really powerful processor to drive all the nano robots to fix that part of the body, because one little wrong move and then the person could die, or it can mess up their spine even more. So they need a really powerful CPU that is driving all that action, right? So that's what he has a noble goal, right? And very noble goal. He's very driven to want to help people, especially veterans who've been disabled. And so his very noble goal. And then you contrast it with the villain Kang, who we are introduced to in the pilot episode of Mindfall, which I've already written, and it's awesome. And so Kang, he wants revenge on Citron because he was experimented on and turned into this freak of a cyborg guy. And so he wants revenge. And so his plan to do it is to create this mind control device. And then he learns about Desmond Gray and what he's doing. and then Desmond Gray becomes this target. And so he seeks Desmond out, but then Susanna comes in. She's working with Vanguard, and Vanguard is this counter cyber terrorism task force. And so she intercepts Desmond in time and warns him about this and says, Kane's coming for you. And so what Desmond does is he realizes, I can't let this powerful chip fall into the wrong hands because it's so powerful, and this, they haven't released it out to the public yet. And so he deduces, I'm going to implant the chip in my own head, and what we'll do is create a decoy, and so that way Kane is going to go after that decoy, and then we can escape, and then we can find a way to capture him, whatever. But anyway, so long story short, Desmond ends up getting captured. He tries to escape but gets captured. They're threatening to interrogate him and all this stuff, and they're tying him up. And so what happens is his Nx5 chip kicks in, and out of reflex, he mind controls the thugs because they all have brain chips. And what ends up happening is he escapes, and he realizes, like, how the heck did I do that? Because he wasn't thinking when he was doing it. And then so throughout the series, he learns to control his new abilities, and his new abilities are awesome. So it makes him a really super efficient hacker, and so he's able to write code and do all these things as a hacker super, super quick, because with this brain chip, the Nx5 has machine learning, and so it's assisting him in writing the code to hack things. You can also not only hack into people's brain chips and computers and all that jazz, you can also take control of vehicles. He can take control of drones, which I really think he should have a drone as like a sidekick or a buddy that helps him out and surveils and stuff like that. And I think that would just be cool. But anyway, so he can hack into drones. He even in one episode has a bunch of drones fly in and collide with Kane's henchmen, right? And so he can do things like that. If he really concentrates, he can and hack into someone's brain chip. He can make them go to sleep or knock them out. Desmond has a moral code. He refuses to kill people, which again, it makes him and Susanna a really good duo. It's like Desmond is like, I don't want to kill people. I'll just knock them out using my abilities, using my taser gun or whatever. But Susanna is like hell-bent and killing Kane and his men. So it's going to be a really cool dynamic. So it's really exciting because you're going to have Susanna, who's this counterterrorism expert martial artist and marksman. And then you have Desmond, who's this expert at computers, at hacking. He knows everything about bionics and nanotechnology. And they have unique skill sets that really complement each other in going towards this goal of stopping Kane from his plot to take revenge on Citron and kill these innocent people using his mind control device. I think it's going to be really cool to explore these characters, especially in these upcoming short films. So Desmond is not in Awakened Shadows. He's mentioned. And it's going to be really cool because in Awakened Shadows, Susanna needs his help and she's trying to get to him. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it. But we don't see him though, really. And then I'm going to develop another short film with Desmond as one of the characters. And I would love to do the short film around Desmond's backstory because I think that would be a really sick short film. Or Desmond is saving someone who's being mind controlled by Kane, and he's trying to help this person. Something like that I think would just be really, really, really cool. But let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your guys' ideas. I, of course, am making this series for you, fans and lovers of cinema, especially Cyberpunk. If you love Cyberpunk 2077, if you love Cyberpunk movies, you're gonna love this. This is why I'm making it for you guys. So if you have really cool ideas for the short films, please let me know. I'm very happy to hear them. But at any rate, I just wanted to just go on here and share about the character. I'm going to be doing other videos on the main characters of Mindfall. Probably the next one I'm going to do is on Kang, because he's the villain and he's badass. He's a force to be reckoned with, and so that's going to be awesome to do. So that's going to be really cool. Definitely stay tuned for that one. Do not forget to subscribe. You definitely want to know when the next video is coming out. And then I'm also going to be putting out, of course, more filmmaking tutorials as well. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to make cyberpunk short films, or just any short film, definitely stay tuned for that. I am going to break down how I write scripts, how I plan out shoots and things like that. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You guys have a good one. And as always, stay classy.